Welcome to True Fear Files, where we uncover the darkest and most chilling true stories that the world tried to forget. I'm your host, and tonight, we're diving into one of history's most terrifying, unsolved mysteries. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night to the sound of footsteps in your attic. Footsteps that shouldn't be there. Now imagine those footsteps belonging to someone who's been living above you for weeks. Watching, waiting. This is the story of the Hinterkaifeck murders, one of the most terrifying and unsolved cases in history. And what happened on that remote farm in Germany will haunt you long after this video ends. March 31st, 1922. A small farmstead called Hinterkaifeck, located between Munich and Ingolstadt, Germany. Population? Just 6 people. The Gruber family lived there, isolated from the world, surrounded by dense forests and endless fields. But on that spring evening, something was very, very wrong. The family hadn't been seen in days. Mail piled up. Smoke stopped rising from the chimney. Neighbors grew concerned. When they finally entered the property, they discovered a massacre so brutal, so mysterious, that over a century later, we still don't know who did it or why. Let me take you back to that cursed farm. But I'm warning you, this story doesn't have a happy ending. The Gruber family wasn't wealthy, but they were hardworking. The patriarch, 63-year-old Andreas Gruber, ran the farm with his wife, Cecilia, who was 72. They lived with their widowed daughter, Victoria Gabriel, age 35, and her 2 children, 7-year-old Cecilia and 2-year-old Joseph. There was also Maria Baumgartner, the new maid. She had only been working at the farm for a few hours before the murders occurred. A few hours. Now, here's where things get disturbing. In the days leading up to the murders, Andreas Gruber told neighbors about strange occurrences on the farm. Footprints in the snow leading from the forest to the farm, but not leading back. He found a newspaper on the property that no one in the family had bought. He heard footsteps in the attic late at night. The family's previous maid had quit 6 months earlier. Why? She claimed the house was haunted. She said she heard voices and footsteps when no one was there. Andreas investigated the attic but found nothing. Or so he thought. On the evening of March 31st, 1922, someone entered the farm. And what they did next was pure evil. It's believed the killer lured Andreas, his wife Cecilia, their daughter Victoria, and young Cecilia into the barn. One by one, they were struck in the head with a mattock, a farming tool similar to a pickaxe. The blows were so violent that their skulls were shattered. But here's the truly horrifying part. Victoria was found with clumps of her own hair in her hands. Investigators believe she survived the initial attack and tore out her own hair in agony before dying hours later. Inside the house, 2-year-old Joseph and the maid Maria were killed in their beds. The killer showed no mercy, not even to a toddler. But the nightmare doesn't end there. After committing these brutal murders, the killer stayed on the farm for days. This is what makes Hinterkaifeck so deeply disturbing. Whoever killed this family didn't run. They stayed. Neighbors reported seeing smoke rising from the chimney for days after the murders. Someone was feeding the animals. The cattle were milked. Food was eaten from the kitchen. Someone even baked bread. The killer was living in that house, walking past the bodies, sleeping under the same roof as 6 corpses, eating their food, living their life. Why? What kind of person does that? And more importantly, who were they? When the bodies were finally discovered on April 4th, 1922, the police launched a massive investigation. Over 100 people were questioned. Theories ranged from robbery to revenge to a crime of passion. But nothing added up. Nothing was stolen from the farm. Money and valuables were left untouched. There were no signs of forced entry. Whoever did this, the family likely knew them. Or worse, they let them in. One disturbing theory involves Victoria's husband, who had been reported killed in World War I, but his body was never found. Some believe he returned, disfigured and unrecognizable, and took revenge on the family for moving on without him. Others believe it was a drifter, a stranger who stumbled upon the isolated farm and saw an opportunity. But here's what makes this case unsolvable. The victims' heads were removed and sent to Munich for examination. They were never returned, and then they disappeared, lost forever. Any potential forensic evidence that could have solved this case, gone. Over the decades, countless theories have emerged. Some believe it was a family member. Others point to a local man who had been seen acting strangely near the farm. One theory suggests Andreas Gruber himself was hiding a dark secret. Rumors swirled that he had an inappropriate relationship with his daughter Victoria, and that young Josef was actually his son, not his grandson. Could someone have killed the family out of disgust, or to stop the abuse? Another theory involves a mysterious stranger. A man was seen in the area days before the murders, asking for directions to Hinterkaifeck. He was never identified. But perhaps the most chilling theory is this: the killer was never caught because they were never suspected. They blended back into society. They lived a normal life, and they took the secret to their grave. To this day, the Hinterkaifeck murders remain unsolved. The farmstead was demolished shortly after the killings. The land was cursed, locals said. No one wanted to live there. No one wanted to remember. But we can't forget. 6 people, including 2 children, were brutally murdered. And their killer was never brought to justice. The question remains, who did it? And why did they stay? Maybe we'll never know. But one thing is certain, the horror of Hinterkaifeck will never be forgotten. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you want more chilling true crime stories like this. And let me know in the comments, who do you think did it? Until next time, stay safe. And maybe check your attic tonight.